Hi guys, so I'm just here with Dotski. She's eating some wet pellets. You see they're mushy. And some veggie treats. Right, pretty girl? So for this Sunday, I'm going to be showing you how to make this toy. Now, I came up with this idea yesterday, and I have to say it's one of my pigs' all-time favorite toys. They love this toy so much because it pretty much is just little strips of different types of paper, and they love chewing on it. So I would definitely recommend trying out this toy with your pets to see if they like it. Just a little warning before I get into the steps. This project will take a bit longer than some other tutorials that I have been doing. It's definitely not as quick and fast as the one I did last week, which was the cardboard corset-like tube. This one does take a little bit more time. It's not hard in its steps. Like, it's pretty easy steps. It just takes longer than usual. But the outcome is really great with my pigs, so I would definitely spend that time making this toy. So I'll cut off the rambling and I'll get it started into what you need. Okay, so for tools, you're going to need a pair of scissors like usual. And this time you will also need a hole puncher. You're also going to need some sisal or whatever type of string you want to hold your toy. Just make sure it's pet safe before you use it. Then you're going to need some different paper products. Now, the ones that I have are just examples. You could definitely try other ones, but I would recommend having at least one of a material that is hard and not as flexible as safer paper. These work well because they kind of make your toy spaced out a bit more instead of just being all like everywhere. So I use just some cardboard, just regular cardboard. I'm also using some white paper, inkless paper. I'm using some, it's the brown wrapping paper, you know, like for like wrapping packages in the mail. You could also use a brown paper bag, but I like to use this a bit more because since it's from like an actual roll, you know how like wrapping paper is, it already has a little curve to it, which is really, really helpful. I'm going to be using half of a coffee filter and just a white paper plate. But again, the materials that you use for your toy are totally up to you. Now, this is optional as well, but if you want your paper and like your cardboard, if you're like wrapping paper, if you're using like a brown paper bag, then you might need to do this. You're just going to want something that you can wrap around it to give it a little bit of a curl. So I'll show you that in the next step, what I mean by that, but yeah. Okay, so this is what I meant by a curl. If you can see, it's kind of shaped upwards. This is just because it's been on a cardboard tube since it is like wrapping paper. So it does have a little bit of a curl. Your paper products don't have to have this if you don't want them to, but from experience, this does give the best results and the pets like it the most. So I would definitely recommend this. So if you're using like, say for example, just a white piece of paper, you just might want to wrap it around some type of tube. You could do this around like a warm pop can if you wanted, just something circular that could give it its shape. And you're just going to want to lean it like that. Oops. And just put something like heavy, if I can get it to stay there, just to keep it like that. I don't know how long it takes for it to actually get a curl, but I'm just going to follow through with the next steps. And when I get to the paper, I will see if it has a curl to it, and if not, if it doesn't have a curl to it, I'll do this on my own time, and then I'll put it in the description bar below how long it takes to actually get a curl so you guys know. So, yeah. Okay, so next you're going to take all of your paper products. You don't need all of them at once, but just gather them up together, and what you're going to want to do is just cut some small strips out of each material. I'm sorry if you can't see this very well. I'm trying to cut it the best that I can. They can be whatever size you like. I tend to make them this big because it works better with the hole puncher. Like, I wouldn't suggest making them super thin, but around an inch or so is a good size. Okay, so if you can see right there, I have all of that cut up. Now I'm going to use my hard, less flexible material, and you're just going to want to do the same. Again, it doesn't really matter how many pieces you make. It just depends on how big you want your toy to be. But just going to want to cut it like that. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my paper plate, or my coffee filter and my paper plate. And I just thought I'd show you a tip for when you're cutting circular things. You're just going to want to cut off the end so you get like a straight line. So, yeah. Okay, so after that's done, I'm just going to use my paper. This has been curled for around 5 minutes. I'm going to see how much of a curl it has. Not very much. It doesn't really have a curl at all. So I will list down in the description bar how long it takes for it to curl. I'll do that tonight or whatever. So, yeah. You're just going to want to do the same with the paper. Okay, so now that you have all of your strips, you are going to take your handy-dandy hole puncher, and you're going to have to punch a hole in each and every one of them. I know this is the part that I kind of get impatient with because it takes a pretty long time. Not too bad, but I don't know. And your hand starts to really hurt if you're using one like mine. So, I actually, with these ones, I can't cut more than one strip at a time, but you may have one that you can cut a few at a time, so that may save some time, but you're just going to want to cut. Now, these ones don't really hurt like using that or using like paper. That's pretty easy, but it's the ones like the hard cardboard that they kind of hurt, and they're kind of hard to cut. So, yes. And by the way, it doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle, because that's kind of what makes the toy kind of fun, it being all like wonky, and yeah, so you don't have to make it perfect. Just kind of punch a hole randomly in the strips of paper. I have a sore hand now, but I'm finally done. All of the pieces of paper have a hole in them. If you ever have some that the hole, you kind of like miss the middle, just don't even include them. Just put them to the side. Or, you know what, instead of wasting, I'll just re-hole punch them. But some, they're like too thin, so it's hard to like actually hole punch them, but yeah. Okay, so your piece of string or sisal or whatever you're using, mine are usually around 20 centimeters. I like to cut them. Sometimes I'll put them around 30 centimeters, but it totally depends on how big or how many pieces you made, so how big you want your toy, but I made mine around that big, which I think will be good. Okay, so first you're going to want to tie a knot at the bottom, like you probably do with all of your like hanging toy projects. See, there's the knot, and just re-knot it 2 or 3 times so you have a bigger knot. And then you have the rest of the string to work with. Okay, so now you're just going to start threading on your pieces. So I usually like to start off with these hard cardboard pieces because they tend to just hold a really good structure. And you're just going to thread it on like so. And then once you have done around 8 to 10, I will usually put a knot right here, pretty close to where the bottom actually is. And of course, you're just going to want to double knot it. I know this is probably horrible and you can't even see what I'm doing, but it's really hard to tie the sisal because it's so like stringy and all of the pieces come off, so bear with me. But anyways, if you see what I mean, you now have a knot there. I don't know if you can kind of see. But yeah, and then you're just going to want to continue on putting on the things. And of course, you're going to want to start off with one of these harder cardboard pieces because they help the structure. And you're just going to want to continue this step until you're pretty much done threading all of your things on. Okay, so once you're done, it should look like this. It looks really fun, and it looks like a lot of bird toys that you find, but it's perfectly safe for small animals to chew on. So, yeah, now you're going to have to tie it up at the top just to make sure that nothing falls off or gets unthreaded in any sort of way. So, there, and just double knot it. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut off the extra. You should leave a little bit apart though, because that's how I usually tie it onto their cage. So I'll leave around 10 centimeters. And there you have it, your toy. Okay, so that is the toy. I hope you guys liked the video and the tutorial. I know it was a bit long, but it is kind of a long process to make this toy, but in the end, the pets really like it, so it's totally worth my time. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching.